So I had mentioned wanting to find and share this series of abstract stream of consciousness poems that I wrote when I was 16, and I did find one of them. This one is called Dammit, I Lost My Supper, a novel, and it's referring to the previous volume, which was called Supper, a novel, and that was a much smaller notebook, and I lost it for a little while at the time, and I did eventually find that one again, so it'd be cool to share that one too at some point because it's the OG. But I also did a really similar project a few years later when I was 20 years old called Minute Poems, and so it's in a similar notebook, stream of consciousness writing, and in some ways those are more mature or interesting, some ways not, they're similar and different. But the reason I'm sharing these now and got the idea to do it is because of the woman at my high school reunion who brought these up when we were talking, and so I know she was referring to this era of the 16-year-old ones, Winnie the Pooh sticker on the back. And so I guess I'll just read some chapters from it. It's in chapters, like a novel, and maybe mix it up with some drawing visuals. I'm getting some ideas of making other content from these, but I'm in the experimental stage of how I'm gonna present these poems. So here's chapter 2. Sometimes sleep means nothing to nobody, and that is why I find temptation in silence or sadness in the sound of the furnace. Of course, I understand that there is an excess of raccoons living upstairs, but that doesn't really mean I want and change in sexuality. There are only two ways to get a next flight to tangle with undeveloped uncertainty. Mistress calling says she can't make it tonight or anymore. She's a fine woman, realizing her dream and how fucked up her current situation is. It doesn't actually matter if the cocoon phase will last, and personally, I'd want to see it go. This is only because mere proportion makes standing out difficult, almost impossible, and time only passes if you have too many people depending on you. Days find restless meter in the ordinary stirrings of clamorous requisites. If only the purchase of telephone rights could make Saturn a better place to live. I would want freedom of thought to explain myself to the intriguing, or whoever tries to take that is basically hindering my career plan. Who cares if I spell everything wrong? That sentence was completely spelled wrong. It's not your business, man, businessman. A happy salamander fights better when it is not under atmospheric pressure. That should help us to address the state of the union. So that was a short chapter, and I also remembered and wanted to mention that just after this phase I got really into slam poetry and made some actually more cohesive, thought out poems that were actually stream of consciousness but more cohesive, and I would perform them. So I'm going to skip ahead to chapter 5. Rampage off the coast in honor of horse racing or some other feeble attempt at a mainstream production war. Blend sinister plots into bubbling crime favors and ask for more than you know you're worth. Nobody ever suspected that you would become a masked fighting rooster. Now's your chance to run with it. Might I add that pampering prodigal paranoia caters to the needs of my jumpstart frantic fragrance salesman. And no matter who you are, even boots in the quickly set flame torch can make you turn around against your will. Talk highly of heresy and blame everything on the choir in hopes of a more radiant future. Patents determine nothing but antsiness in a community built on values such as insecurity and unestablished violence deterioration. Cramming too much waste filler into one grammar mistake makes for a better twist of fame, but that is not the only choice to make and is not highly revered among those almighty weaklings we call capable citizens. Climb into your day-chilled bunk, lie there, and contemplate complete cynicism for Taco Bell and cringing hair. If there were another spotted pegboard, it would be one thing, but there are far too many singing centipedes trying to get on top the easy way before they realize none of it is as crucial as they inherently were making it out to be. Sailors have their own monuments, as we all know, but ships have been sending out less and less dangerous crab apples, and therefore my own protest is a misogynistic battle cry against patriarchy. And now for our main point. Well, no, that was a false alarm. This is still deeply nestled in the warm and cozy womb of preludian gibberish. Calm it down and maybe we can begin. There are too many keyhole doorknob shamble-ringing plier saxophone timely crash company client arrangements, and we won't support the issue any less or more than the current amount we are giving it, which is basically imaginary if not fundamentally non-existent. Savoring harishness or some substitute thereof, I have come up with an entirely groundbreaking trio of knives to brandish, guns to show off, and chocolate to shut up our nagging girlfriends. And now for our feature presentation. Oops, missed it. It's gone. Where'd it go? Oh no, can't find it. Guess we'll have to do without it. What a shame. Too bad. Would have probably been nice. Guess we'll never know. Oh well, c'est la vie. Say, by the way, why don't you play with your funny game that you got for Christmas? Yeah, that one. Go get it. They're getting bored because they missed their train, Piplia. Mix evil planned graves beside goldfish ponds for 15 or so years without robbery or prudishness of philandering panderers waking up in the middle of Seinfeld. But question by less impression, which equals he doesn't know her and thinks she's nothing more, switch, a pile of the grimy garbage. Everyone always expects, which I did lose the face-off chicken, and that surely makes for some sort of a grandiose predicament. Then my limited freedom walks without a cane and will venture to proceed with caution, wearing only a false hood to keep its head warm. Subtract any abusive relevance for the time being and replace it with a completely different, infracted situation. Drug dealers hiding behind limps want nothing but outstanding calmness of redolence, and will you supply yes men for degrees of what happens? Crooked sandals out of slowed table ring sizers cannot create us or spindle inside or through our thoughts. Speak in a low tone in back of me and apologize to forgive nothing under orchestral hopelessly if lessons mess with pessimist tresses of relentless restful zest. Dark fortune pretends inconclusively every goddamn material item on the face of the earth. Around the corner, spiders hop to escape societal pressure torn down for lack of moral code or conduct, not to mention, surely, supremacy of motherhood beneath pacifist reconstructionism. Squeeze almost little quality tubes out of many partisan archaic disillusions or end on a sour note. And another thing I thought about to say is that these were stream of consciousness and abstract, but that doesn't mean that they didn't mean anything. So many of these phrases were referring to very specific things that were in my life or had happened in my life, and I was just using kind of code phrases for it. You know, just being poetic, but cryptically poetic. And so that's where a lot of these kind of random phrases of things come from. They came from a real place, but just a way that I was finding to express it. Chapter 10. All trees turn into sunsets eventually, and so as time goes by, one will find the startling truth, the alarming realization that they are used to not even a shrub, and it seemed as though There never was one to begin with, and all along as the chrome shine metallic glare chromatic sequence follows with the flow of the river until one must find a transition point. No, not the kind he was going to tell you about at lunch, but the one from disappointment and a lack of self-discipline in musically talented youngsters to the extended family of the Mishbucha, the anti-nukes, the hungry dogs, the hippies, the Watusi, the twist, the J-stroke, the sweep, in a canoe, on a river in a mail boat to the island of reproducing monkeys, where we found the camouflaged hunting arrow that scared, wait, no, frightened booty, and across from the harbor of accidental promises. That was something that really happened, and Booty was a person I went to high school with who, when we were 22, his boyfriend murdered him and hid him in a giant Tupperware in a closet when the police found him. But I didn't know that was going to happen yet. I was only 16. Did I say conflagration? I meant insinuated avocation, to follow guilty racing through memories and oodles of heart-wrenching respect to lawn consolation, beats music salvation. Did I mention the loss at Ascension in giant fawning tension of work I don't get and pay I never earn, and facts I have to learn because I need ones that will speed me up, no feel me up, no cheer me up, no lift me up, and sing hallelujah in the quiet choir chord, discord, pink hair, stained glass painting in the envious hallway. Aw, damn it, the newly, oldly, boldly, coldly envious everything with each anti-chronological journal journey backwards into history that I can't find in cyberspace, along with the 1982 federal law budget proposals, appropriations, and outlays that veer me into telling the visceral one that I'm not completely stable, and to open it all on one t-shirt over and tell yet another thing I get merciless flack for, and to top it all off, I forget it in Dank's love room with the abuse box and miss the life preserver and have to settle for a log of driftwood without any necessary fingerings, just squishy dead worms and rats that were thawed out and cut without the sawing motion at the Edgewood Club ex-maintenance worker inquiry of simple machinery techniques, radically buzz, bright boombox, bitter bereavement making lumps large in suits like the labyrinthian outline of David Bowie's member in her irresponsible car memory, to the mini-star. Who was it? Was Hatman randomly bringing curt Star Trek rats to light in front of my bonus that through and through brings me to reflect on how much I enjoy the okay, I'll shut up now face, to seeing ignorant billiards making me, shaking me, faking tea like laking leak ring ling ling, as all pandas are entitled, no allowed to have as sarmassophobes, like the one that told me I was when who could begin to predict the future. And calling is abrupt after Beatles concerts and shivering in the warm chills of seeing the one this could be dedicated to in more ways than one, like being hurt with enveloping pain that comes from within yet simultaneously erupts and implodes the discomfort, like what has to be watched and what had to be watched, and become indifferent or afraid or any special point from one ridiculous end of the spectrum to the other, and we discuss the backwards chronology once more, and I wonder all about what I don't know, but cautiously, because one should not speak going against thine own will, lest one should awaken a new soul. In the skies, packing mesochronatic plaque plagiarism, voyeurism, elocution, networking first wives and ex-girlfriends like lists of exotic foreign cheese, please love me, thank you. Mesopith really like rheumatism or arthritis or love play or coils and ancient artifacts in the hill in Texas. Stop, go, yes, no. Make it again without a doubt in the bruising Cruisentine La Boat race poem, Take Me Home, and ask why anyone would ever show respect for my feelings, especially on a rainy testosterone-filled evening after the boys in the rotting hamster mobile with love, wanting but not receiving, and thinking guiltily about Herbert Hoover making red-haired, black-faced, black-clothed, illegally sexy regrets of the whole past year. And guess we all have them, but I like to be organized. But enough about me. Is there something to be suggested in that you no longer can keep to a subject, my child? Can you elaborate on this? Please continue. All your base are belong to us. Yes, he only peed in that bathroom for 30 mean minutes. Just lay off it already. Seems like he did eventually and deserves some congratulations. Aw, fuck it. There's no going back. He beat me. He won. I lost. Defeated again, like every single time. I will win someday, I promise. Just need to find me a human. It's not even affection anymore. It's just competition. And that makes me feel better because if you're going to be hate, why not justify? This is what the writing looks like. It's actually all very clean. There's like, it's kind of like perfect writing. Like nothing's crossed out. Nothing's like miswritten pretty much. I think that's because I like never typed or definitely never used any cell phones or anything at that time. I was so used to handwriting everything all the time. So those are some of my poems from when I was 16, my abstract poems. I wrote also more cohesive poems then as well. And some of those I might like to find and do something with someday too, but this is my experiment with these experimental poems. Thanks for coming along for the crazy ride!